Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going deep, right inside our own arteries to uncover the secret, step-by-step story of how plaque actually forms.
You know the drill. You go to the doctor and you see these numbers on a chart. Maybe your blood pressure is something like 157 over 97, or your LDL cholesterol is up at 200. They're just numbers, right? But what are they actually doing inside your body?
How does a number on a page, something totally abstract, turn into this, a very real, very physical blockage inside a blood vessel? Well, that's exactly the story we're going to unpack today.
This whole process, this whole story, has a name: atherosclerosis. You've probably heard it called hardening of the arteries. And really, at its core, it's all about a dangerous partnership between two things: damage to your artery walls and the cholesterol that's floating through your blood.
Okay, let's dive in. And we're going to treat this almost like a crime scene investigation. Our crime scene? The super delicate inner lining of an artery.
This lining is called the endothelium, and when it's healthy, wow, it is an incredible piece of work. It's just a single layer of cells, thin, perfectly smooth, almost like a non-stick coating, that lets blood flow by without a problem. Nothing's supposed to stick to it.
But that perfect protective wall, it can get damaged. And this breach, this is the critical first step in our whole story. This is the moment our crime scene goes from quiet to active. This initial damage is called endothelial dysfunction. Basically, when that lining is under constant stress, it stops being this perfect non-stick barrier. Instead, it gets all inflamed, sticky, and leaky. The wall has been compromised.
Now, what's really fascinating here is seeing how these different risk factors do their dirty work. It's like a multi-front assault. As you see here, high blood pressure is like a physical force, literally creating these tiny tears in the wall. At the exact same time, things like high LDL, smoking, and high blood sugar are launching a chemical attack, causing inflammation and direct toxic damage. It's a tough situation for that delicate lining.
So the wall's been breached. It's leaky now. And that creates a perfect entry point for our main suspect to finally arrive on the scene: LDL cholesterol. And the source material on this just couldn't be any clearer. LDL isn't just a bystander hanging around the crime scene. No, it is the key player that takes a little bit of initial damage and blows it up into a full-blown progressive artery-clogging plaque.
So how does it pull this off? Well, its mission unfolds in 3 key steps. First, LDL particles use that leaky wall to get inside, and then they get trapped. Second, and this is critical, once they're stuck, they chemically change. They transform into a toxic version of themselves. And third, that toxic form sends a massive alarm for the body's immune system.
And this is why a number like 200 milligrams per deciliter matters so much. It isn't just a number, you see. It means there's a huge crowd of these LDL particles in your blood, all pushing to get through that damaged barrier. The more particles you have, the more are going to get in. Simple as that. So here's the crucial takeaway. Regular old LDL cholesterol just floating by, it's not the ultimate villain here. The real bad guy, the one that truly kicks off the crisis, is what it becomes after it gets trapped: oxidized LDL. That's the toxic, inflammatory form that causes all the trouble.
Okay, so now we've got a toxic mess brewing inside the artery wall. Now the body's smart, right? It tries to clean things up. The problem is, this is one of those situations where the cleanup crew ends up making the problem so much worse. So, in response to that alarm bell that the oxidized LDL set off, the body sends in its elite cleanup crew. These are immune cells called macrophages, and their whole job in life is to show up, eat bad stuff, and get it out of there.
But here is where the story takes a fatal twist. The macrophages, they start gobbling up all that toxic oxidized LDL. But they don't know when to stop. They just keep eating and eating, gorging themselves until they get so swollen, they completely transform.
They become these things called foam cells. And folks, this is it. These swollen, fat-filled former immune cells, these are the actual physical bricks that builds a plaque.
And when enough of these foam cells pile up right there inside the artery wall, they form what's called a fatty streak. It's the very first visible sign of atherosclerosis. It's the beginning of a real dangerous blockage. All right, our investigation is just about wrapped up. Let's connect all the dots, lay out all the evidence, and deliver the final verdict on how this whole thing happens.
And here it is, the whole chain of events, laid out right in front of us. It's a domino effect. It starts with damage. That damage lets high levels of LDL get in. That LDL then turns toxic and sounds an alarm. And finally, the immune system's response, which is supposed to help, ends up building the very plaque it was sent to prevent. It's incredible.
And this explains perfectly why doctors are always so focused on these two things, right? You have to deal with the force that's causing the initial damage, that's the blood pressure, and you have to deal with the material that's getting inside, that's the LDL. One creates the breach, and the other builds the blockage.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that there is a straight causal line connecting those numbers on your medical chart to the physical reality of what's going on inside your body. The cause and the effect, they're crystal clear.
And that understanding is incredibly powerful because the story of plaque isn't just one big messy event. It's written in clear, distinct steps. And that means there are different points where you can step in, where you can intervene, which leaves us with a final, really crucial question to think about. Now that you know the sequence of events, which step will you choose to interrupt?